What do most Fortune 500 executives have in common? After more than 100 episodes recorded with those very executives from companies like Disney, Amazon, Netflix, Cigna, and Google, the answer is clear. They learned lessons in leadership from the fields and courts of their high school and collegiate sports teams. Some of our guests' athletic experience earned them a place in their sports Hall of Fame, like Chick-fil-A Chairman Dan Cathy. Some hung up their cleats after high school, like Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian, while others, like Condoleezza Rice, claimed they were terrible in their sport. But no matter their skill level, they have all told me that being a part of a team taught them lessons they still use as leaders today. In partnership with Maxwell Leadership, I'm your host, Don Yeager, here to give you an all-access pass to genuine, authentic, fireside chat-like conversations with today's business icons so that you can create powerful, positive change in your own organization. This is Corporate Competitor Podcast. With me for today's episode is Hal Elrod, the author of The Miracle Morning, which has impacted more than 2 million people across 70 countries. I first met Hal at an authors gathering hosted at legendary writer Donald Miller's house, and I learned his story. Hal was hit head on by a drunk driver when he was 20 years old. His heart stopped beating for 6 minutes, and his doctor said that he would likely never walk again. Not only did Hal walk, a decade later, he ran a 52-mile ultramarathon. Hal is dedicated to motivating others with the new expanded version of his book, The Miracle Morning, that hits shelves December 12th. Remember to download your bonus resource from corporatecompetitorpodcast.com/162 for notes and reflection questions from today's episode.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. On a scale of 1 to 10, what level of success do I want in every area of my life? I want level 10 success. What's my level of personal development? This is the disconnect. We want this level of success, but we're not dedicating time each day to becoming the level 10 version of ourselves we need to be that's capable of achieving the level of success that we want. The secret to success is not doing more, it's becoming more.
Hal, thanks for joining us.
Don, it is a pleasure. You and I got to meet recently in person and spend a day together. I loved you from the start, and I'm so grateful that we get to talk again.
Well, I love your work, the inspirational nature of all that you've chosen to pour into other people. And it's born of tragedy, which I think is really so powerful, the way that you've spoken so openly about the tragedy that changed your life. Your car was hit head on by a drunk driver, 70 miles an hour. Walk us through a few of the most important lessons that unbelievable journey taught you.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you never imagined going to happen to you. That happens on the news and you feel bad for the family and you move on.
Right.
I was 20 years old at the time in a career selling Cutco kitchen cutlery. I'd been one of Cutco's top sales reps for the past year and a half. And that night I gave a speech at an event and I was driving home after I got my first standing ovation. So I was like on cloud nine, best night of my life. I'm driving my brand new Ford Mustang that I had bought 3 weeks prior with my own money, earned commission. Life was great. And this drunk driver got on the freeway heading the wrong direction, 80 miles an hour. I don't remember the headlights coming at me. We collided head on, but we hit kind of off center. I probably swerved at the last minute or something. My car spun around and my driver's side door was facing the car that had been just trailing a few car lengths behind me. And they crashed into my door at 70 miles an hour into the left side of my body. And I broke 11 bones instantaneously. My arm broke in 2 pieces. My elbow shattered. My eye socket shattered. My ear was almost completely severed. The femur, the biggest bone in the human body, broke in half. My pelvis broke in 3 places. And I bled to death. When they pulled me out of the car an hour later, I was not breathing. My heart had stopped beating and I was clinically dead for approximately 6 minutes. And they rushed me onto a medevac helicopter, hooked me up to an IV, hooked me up to defibrillators and performed CPR. And thankfully, they brought me back to life. 6 days in a coma. I woke up and I faced the news that, okay, Hal, you've been in this horrific accident. You've broken 11 bones. You have permanent brain damage, which I had no short-term memory. I mean, it was almost non-existent. I'd forget what I was talking about. I literally would fall asleep and wake up and have my parents retell me what happened to me. Wait, why am I here again? Why am I in the hospital? And then the doctor said, probably the hardest news to take, you're probably never going to walk again. Get used to that idea that you're probably going to spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair. About a week after I came out of the coma, the doctors called my parents in. They wanted to give him an update, and they said, we're concerned with Hal. He's always smiling and laughing, telling jokes and making us laugh. Frankly, that's not normal. He's disconnected from reality. He cannot handle what has happened to him, so he's just checked out. And they said this is not an uncommon response from people that are in accidents as massive as this. But eventually he's going to have to face reality. It's going to come crashing down, and he could turn to drugs or alcohol or suicide or, we need him to admit how he's really feeling now so that we can work through him with his therapist and his psychologist and all of this. My parents were naturally concerned, and they came into my hospital room, and I can't move. I can't walk. My arm is up in a sling. It's got metal rods in it. My legs got metal rods in it. It's up in a sling. And my dad explained the doctor's concerns. He said, how are you really feeling? I know that you're a positive person in general, but I can't imagine when the lights go out at night and you have nobody to talk to and you're just thinking about your life and what happened and the wheelchair that you're going to be in the rest of your life. The doctors are right. How are you feeling? It's okay to be sad or scared or angry or depressed. In fact, the doctors say it's important for you to admit those feelings. I'm looking at my dad, and he's sitting by my hospital bed, and, he's emotional. He's concerned for his son.
Right.
And I took about maybe 30 seconds. I really went inside and I thought, am I sad? Am I scared? Am I angry? And I looked back at my dad and I smiled and I said, Dad, I thought you knew me better than that. What do you mean? I said, I live my life by the 5-minute rule. Remember? It's been 2 weeks since the car accident. My 5 minutes are up. And he goes, what does that mean again? Remind me. I learned the 5-minute rule on my second day of my Cutco sales training. It was basically in the context of sales being a microcosm for life's adversity. Like the average person faces rejection occasionally, the salesperson faces it 6 times a day.
Right.
My mentor, my manager in Cutco said, you need a strategy to be able to quickly overcome adversity, disappointment, rejection, and failure. When something goes wrong, it's okay to feel sorry for yourself, but don't dwell on it for an extended period of time. Set your timer for 5 minutes on your phone, and you give yourself 5 minutes to moan, complain, cry, vent, whatever. When the timer goes off, say 3 very powerful words. Can't change it. It's an acknowledgement that I can't change what happened 5 minutes ago. So right now I have a very simple choice. I can continue to dwell on it and cause myself to be upset and wish it didn't happen and resist reality. That is the source of all of our emotional pain. It's not the thing that happened. It's us resisting the reality that is in front of us or behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather than dwell on it and wish it didn't happen, which is futile, you can accept reality exactly as it is. And you might not be happy about it, but it's much more powerful than that. When you accept reality exactly as it is, you give yourself the gift of inner peace. You can be at peace with the thing, even though you might not like it. You might not have wanted it to be that way. It is what it is. And right now you can either be at peace or you can be miserable. I learned that in a much milder context.
I don't want to buy your knives.
Exactly. I don't want to buy your knives. You didn't hit your goal. The customer didn't show to the appointment. They canceled their order. Those are hard things to deal with when your life is your goals at that time. For a year and a half, I practiced this 5-minute rule over and over and over. And I'll be really honest. And Don, I think it's important for me to share this. A lot of people listening might go, what I thought, are you kidding me? 5 minutes? You think I'm going to get over it in 5 minutes? Can I get a 5-hour rule?
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of time to stew. The first time I applied the 5-minute rule, this woman didn't show up to her appointment, and I drove 45 minutes. I needed that appointment to hit my goals, and I set the timer on my phone for 5 minutes, and I'm in my head going, I can't believe she did that. How could she do that? How rude. Why didn't she call me? Why didn't she let me know? Now I'm not going to reach my goal. And the timer goes off. Sure enough, it seemed like it was just seconds later.
Yeah.
And I'm still upset. And I snoozed and did the timer again. And I felt vindicated. I go, see, 5 minutes isn't enough time. Dawn, within a matter of maybe a week or two after practicing this every day, it got easier and easier. I got quicker and quicker and quicker to just accept it, say, can't change it, and move on. And I remember the moment I hit my goal on a Sunday night for the week, and it made me the #1 rep in the office. My manager, I called him. We celebrated. I called my parents. I said, they're going to recognize me at the team meeting on Wednesday. It's amazing. And at 9:00 at night, the woman calls me that had ordered that night. It was the biggest order I'd ever had. And she says, I'm so sorry. My husband came home. I have to cancel the order. I had just celebrated for hours. I was so excited and so proud. I tried to talk her into it. No talking her into it. I hung up the phone. I set my timer for 5 minutes and I go, I can't believe she canceled. I don't have time. Orders are due in the morning. I can't fix it. What am I going to do? I mean, I guess all I can do is get on the phone tomorrow and try again next week. And I picked up my phone and there was 4 minutes and 32 seconds left on my phone.
Wow.
Wait a minute. What's the point in feeling upset over this thing that I can't change for the next 4.5 minutes when I could just say, can't change it now, be at peace with it, and go watch TV and have a great night? My paradigm shifted from 5 minutes isn't long enough to get over something to, hey, give me 5 seconds. And I literally, in my mind, I decided I'm not going to do the 5-minute rule anymore. I'm going to do the 5-second rule. Let me complain, but I'm going to move on real quick. Fast forward 1.5 years later, and I'm having that conversation with my dad. And I said, Dad, it's been 2 weeks since the car accident. My 5 minutes is up. What's the point in feeling sad, angry, and depressed like you said the doctors say I should feel? If I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I've already thought of that possibility, and I've decided I might as well be the happiest person that you've ever seen in a wheelchair because I'm in a wheelchair either way. I'm not going to let the unchangeable circumstances or events of my past dictate the mental and emotional well-being that I'm in charge of. I get to choose. And that lesson, Dawn, I used it when I was diagnosed with cancer about 5 years ago and given a 20% chance of surviving. I went, I have cancer either way. There's no point in feeling sorry for myself. I'm going to be the happiest, most grateful I've ever been while I endure the most difficult time in my life. For anybody listening, even if it's not some monumental tragedy in your life, try it in traffic. I used to spend 30 minutes in traffic pissed off and riding the bumper of the person in front of me and, oh, I can't believe I left late. And I would be miserable for the 30 minutes in traffic. Now, as soon as I hit traffic, I go, well, I can't change it. There's no point in wishing it were different. There's no point in being upset.
Right.
How about I enjoy every moment while I'm in traffic for the next 30 minutes? We can't change the things that are out of our control. Once they happen, they have now happened. You can't go back in time and change it, but you can choose to be genuinely happy, at peace, grateful, even while you're facing, whether it's traffic or the most difficult time in your life. You get to choose how you experience every moment.
Man, that is so powerful. And what a gift that Cutco manager gave you.
Totally.
It's funny. I know great mental strength coaches in baseball who teach a pitcher after they give up a home run that they have to sit, wipe the rubber clean, and get ready to step back up there to pitch to the next guy.
Yeah. I mean, that kills athletes. You miss one shot.
Right.
Is tonight an off night? You miss 2 shots. Oh yeah, it's definitely not right. You're frustrated that, I missed the shot.
Right.
To me, I think that in sports, that 5-second rule is probably one of the most applicable aspects of life. All right, I missed the last 7 shots, but I'll definitely make the 8th. And if you miss the 8th, well, I'm definitely going to make the 9th. If you miss the 9th, I'll definitely make the 10th. It's that champion's mindset that I'm completely at peace with what's behind me, and I have unwavering faith that what's ahead of me is my best.
Yep, that is so great. And when people who don't have that mindset try to think in the mind of those folks who do, their immediate sense is, gosh, that person is disconnected from reality.
Totally. Oh, my wife has told me that multiple times.
I would guess most wives have told us that at some stage.
Sure.
But the experiences that you had through all of this journey led you to write the book, The Miracle Morning, the not so obvious secret guaranteed to transform life.
Yeah.
In which you shared your perspective shift and how that allows others to learn from you. And that became a series of books.
Yeah.
In fact, you've got a whole slew of covers on your wall there. That's really extraordinary. And next week, you'll be releasing an extended version of your book series for all the Miracle Morning fans out there.
Yeah.
And those who are going to become fans here pretty quickly. Tell us about the new extended book and what you hope it will do for readers.
The Miracle Morning, for those that don't know, I self-published it in 2012. It was a result of the 2008 financial crash. In the 2008 recession, when the economy crashed, I was an entrepreneur, I was a business coach, and I crashed with it. My clients, their businesses were struggling. They couldn't afford to pay me my coaching fee, and I lost over half of my income. I then lost my house. I went deep in credit card debt just trying to pay the bills. And as a result, I got really depressed. I was really in a scarcity mindset, really afraid. And I heard a quote from Jim Rohn that changed everything. In fact, I feel like he's the co-parent to the Miracle Morning. Jim Rohn said, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. And it hit me. That quote just hit me. And I went, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what level of success do I want in every area of my life? My health, my happiness, my energy, my relationships, my finances. If anybody's listening to this, ask yourself that question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best it could be, what level of success and fulfillment do you want in each area of your life? And I believe it's a level 10 for everyone. I've never met anyone that's like, well, I don't want to be too happy.
I'm okay at a 4.
I'll settle for mediocrity in my, no. There's an innate human drive and desire to fulfill our potential and create the most extraordinary life we can imagine. But most people, they wake up every day and life stays the same because they stay the same. We stay the same. That was the next part of the question. If Jim Rohn is right, and I believe he is, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. I want level 10 success. What's my level of personal development? Who are you becoming? Who are you developing yourself to be as a person? That's your level of personal development. And at that time, I wasn't reading. I was in scarcity mode. I just woke up, worked, tried to make money, didn't figure out how to do it. My level of personal development is like at a 2, maybe a 3 or a 4 on a good day. Don, this is the disconnect for the majority of our society. Everybody wants level 10 success. But if you ask the average person, what's your daily personal development routine like on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, it's like a 2 or 3 or a 0. This is the disconnect. We want this level of success, but we're not dedicating time each day to becoming the level 10 version of ourselves that we need to be that's capable of achieving the level of success that we want. In other words, the secret to success is not doing more, it's becoming more. When you become the person that is qualified and capable of achieving the results you want in your marriage, in your health, as a parent, as an entrepreneur, financially, you're able to achieve the success that reflects your level of personal development. So I had this epiphany. I go, I've got to go research what do the world's most successful people do for their personal development? And I'm going to assemble the most effective personal development ritual in existence. I had 6 practices that I found that were very common: meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling. Ray Dalio, who is a billionaire, he says that the number one key to his financial success as a billionaire is his meditation practice. I would have never guessed that.
Wow, yeah.
Will Smith, this was pre-Chris Rock slap, but he said when he was 15 years old, he wrote affirmations that articulated who he needed to be to achieve what he wanted in his life. And then he simply lived in alignment with those affirmations. He became that person and created everything he wanted for his life. So I'm looking at this list and I'm going, which one's the best? I can't do all 6 of them. Which one's like the best? Maybe 1 or 2. Wait, what if I did all of these? If I want to change my life, I got to get out of my comfort zone. I got to be willing to do something different. What if I woke up an hour earlier, even though I was not a morning person, and I did the 6 most timeless, proven personal development practices in the history of humanity? That'd be the ultimate morning ritual. I woke up the next morning. I did all 6 practices poorly. I didn't know how to meditate. Affirmations felt really goofy to me. But even still, at the end of that hour, I went, this is it. If I start every day like this, with this much clarity and energy and motivation and discipline, it's only a matter of time before I become the person that I need to be to turn my life around. This is organized in the book as an acronym, SAVERS, SAVERS.
Right.
The first S is for silence. That's your meditation, your breath work, your prayer. It's getting grounded, getting centered for your day, reconnecting with God, reconnecting with your intuition. It's in our moments of peaceful, purposeful silence when our best ideas are born. The A is for affirmations, and very different than the way that self-help gurus have taught affirmations, which is like either lie to yourself and just tell yourself you're wealthy, even if you're not, right, or tell yourself that you're a money magnet and money's just going to flow into your life effortlessly and in abundance. And that's not how it works.
No.
Number one, affirm what you're committed to, because in life, we only get what we're committed to. So affirm the result, the goal, the outcome, or even the habit or the activity. Number two, affirm why it's a must for you. What's your why that's so meaningful and so important that it will drive you every day to get out of bed and do the things to get to that result? And number three, which specific actions will you take and when will you take them? That is the 3-step affirmations formula that generates measurable results.
And that way you're not declaring I'm going to be rich. You're actually saying, here's what I'm going to do to go out and become rich.
Yeah, I'm committed to be a millionaire,
right? Because
I want to provide financial freedom for my family. So in order to get there, I'm going to dedicate an hour every day to reading books on money and then implementing what I learn. Done.
Yeah.
You're aligning your subconscious mind and your conscious thought and behaviors with what you want to achieve.
Right.
The V is for visualization. Professional athletes are arguably the best example of people that know that mentally rehearsing yourself showing up at your best before it's game time increases the likelihood that when it is game time, you've rehearsed it. You've been there. As human beings, we can rehearse showing up at our best every day for our work, for our spouse, for our kids. And if you rehearse it in the morning, you're far more likely to embody it during the day.
Throughout the rest of the day. Correct.
The E is for exercise. And I'm not saying go to the gym in the morning. I'm saying even do 60 seconds of jumping jacks. That will take your mental and physical energy level from a 2 to a 7, 8, 9 in 60 seconds. And then I do a little workout at the end of my Miracle Morning. The R is for reading. Not rocket science here, but we're all one book away from learning a strategy that we need to learn. And by the way, of course, that book is the Miracle Morning right now.
I like it. Hold it up.
Updated and expanded edition.
I love the cover.
That's the new one.
Yep.
Very different. It's the same, but very different. 70 pages of new content. And then the final S in Savers is for scribing, putting pen to paper. And I write myself letters. I write myself notes. I journal what I'm grateful for. I mean, really, I just get the thoughts out of my head and on paper. And what that forces you to do is really clarify your thinking. Because in your mind, you can think 17 different thoughts on different topics in 30 seconds.
Right.
You don't write that way. When you put pen to paper and you clarify, here's what I'm grateful for. Here's my highest priority today and what I'm committed to doing. When you have clarity, you have power to act because now you know what it is that you want to do.
What have you found is most impactful to write down?
There is a journal called the 5-Minute Journal. That's where I got this from. 2 things. Write down what you're grateful for. But I want to make a really important distinction. There's a big difference between intellectual gratitude, which is if you ask somebody, are you grateful for like your family and your house? They have food on the table and they go, yeah. I'm grateful for, check that box, check that box. But it doesn't really penetrate their emotional state or their soul, if you will. The other kind of gratitude, soulful, heartfelt gratitude. Don't just write something you're grateful for and keep it up from your head to the paper. Go head to paper and then bring it back in to your heart. You saw I just did it unconsciously. My hand goes to my heart and I look at the things I'm grateful for and sit there for 30 seconds, a minute, 10 seconds. It just depends. If I wrote down that I'm grateful for my daughter, Sophia, I'll close my eyes and I'll just feel grateful, deeply grateful. In fact, my goal is to cry. I don't get there very often. Sometimes I'll even imagine, what if I didn't have that? What if I lost that tomorrow or today? How would that feel? And sometimes that actually helps me go deeper. The second thing I write down is I look at my to-do list for the day, and I usually got 7 things, 12 things, too many things on there. And I go, okay, what's number 1, the most important thing that I need to get done the day that'll move the needle in my business or in my life? And then what are the top 3? What are the next 2 in order? And I am not allowed to work on number 2 until I've gotten number 1 done. And I'm not allowed to work on number 3 until I've gotten number 2 done. That clarity, what are my highest priorities, keeps me from getting busy with email or checking off the low-hanging fruit that doesn't actually make a difference, but it tricks me into thinking I'm being productive because I checked off 3 things, but they didn't really matter. And it's the last part, scribing. It's the last thing I do before I transition into the workday. What's the number 1 thing that'll move the needle for me today? And then what's number 2 and what's number 3 behind it?
Wow. And you manage all of these in 1 hour.
And a lot of times less. It's very scalable. You can do the savers in any order. You can do a 30-minute Miracle Morning. In fact, we survey our audience quite often.
Right.
Really important question we always ask when we survey is, were you a morning person before you read the Miracle Morning? Or was this a complete transformation of a limiting belief you had that you had told yourself you couldn't be a morning person?
Right.
Consistently, it's right around 72% of Miracle Morning practitioners that do it 5, 6, 7 days a week were not morning people. That was an important part of when I wrote the book was, how do I take someone from, I'm not a morning person and I don't want to be a morning person, to, hey, I'm doing it and it's changing my life.
Man, I don't know that I could do that in an hour, but you're saying it can be done in less than that.
Don, you can do it in as little as 6 minutes. There's 2 chapters in the book that speak to this. Number 1 is customizing your Miracle Morning to fit your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Do them in different orders. If you wake up groggy, do exercise first. Do those jumping jacks right away.
I love it.
Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he has read the Miracle Morning 3 times last time I talked to him. It's one of his favorite books. Literally, he talks about it in almost all of his speeches. And when he interviewed me on Rich Dad Radio, he summed it up better than I ever had. He said, Hal, before you wrote the Miracle Morning, every successful person on the planet attributes their success to at least one of the savers, one of those 6 practices. It's the books they read. It's their journaling. It's their meditation. It's that, right? But I had never met a single person, including myself, that did all 6 of these best practices every single day. The transformations for people are really, really profound.
I love it. And, I see on the wall behind you, you've got a bunch of notes.
Those are gratitude notes. Those are from readers of the book or people that saw my speech and mail me letters every week. And there's some notes from my kids up there too. Those definitely qualify.
Right. But I love that because too often we get those notes, we tuck them away or whatever it is. And when I saw immediately, I assumed that's what they were. And I don't think I've ever seen another author who finds a place to actually display them that allows you to remember the importance of how the others are impacted by your work.
And I do want to give credit where credit is due. It's actually a good friend of mine who is an author, Pat Flynn. Mm-hmm. He wrote the book, Will It Fly? And he actually had the gratitude board at his house when I went over to his house to visit him one day. And he told me about it. And I go, yeah, I want that as a constant reminder of the impact I'm making. It's the reciprocation. You do this work like a podcast. You don't hear the audience. You don't hear, is it landing? So when you get a note and it says, this changed my life, your book changed my life, it's a really important part of kind of the circle of authorhood, if you will.
Yeah. There's a great business application of that too. How often do we get a note, maybe into our organization, about something, some way that your product or your service has impacted others? And too often those things end up in a folder and they don't get shared. They don't get appreciated.
Print those out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. You mentioned some new content, these 70 pages.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I can't wait to share it, read it. What's different this time?
So I'm really excited about it. And I'll tell you, Don, I spent 8 months every single day updating and expanding the original book. When you go back and you read your old work, and I wrote this book over a decade ago, it's cringeworthy to me. I mean, it sounds terrible, but totally. I would read my old book and I'd go, oh my God, this sounds so cheesy. How do people get past this page? I was so cheesy, I literally went through every single line of the book and updated everything from over a decade. I say this, the Miracle Morning helps you elevate your consciousness by being more aware and intentional about how your thoughts, words, and actions impact yourself and other people. So I would like to think that after practicing the Miracle Morning for 15 years now,
you should be a different person.
I'm at a higher place of consciousness. And so I was able to rewrite the book from that place. I also went through and I answered questions. The Miracle Morning is a global community made up of millions of people. Our Facebook group has 340,000 members.
Wow.
I've learned from them. Hal, what about this? And why didn't you do this? And why didn't you cover this? And how do we do this? I've been paying attention. I've read reviews on the original book on Amazon, thousands of them, not all of them, but a large amount of them. And I've looked for what are the common themes that people struggle with. The new book answers every question from, well, what if I'm not a morning person? Or what if I've been doing the Miracle Morning for years and I've already read the original book? How can I take my Miracle Morning to the next level? I've been doing the Miracle Morning for over a decade. So for each of the savers, I have a lot of advanced strategies and techniques.
Right.
In fact, I share a practice I call emotional optimization meditation. I did a master class in affirmations in the book, whereas before I just touched on it. It was I gave you just enough to do your first meditation, do your first affirmations. It was like, okay, let's do your first, but now let's go really deep. And then I added 2 brand new chapters that are each 20 pages. They're like mini books. One is the Miracle Evening, your strategy to create an evening routine for what I call blissful bedtime and better sleep. Because I know so many people struggle with sleep right now. And I used to struggle with sleep. I figured it out. I cracked the code. I put that in the book. And then there's a chapter called The Miracle Life. It's your path to inner freedom. It's basically, how can you choose your optimal state to be happy, if you will, in the midst of difficult circumstances? So 70 pages of new content. I updated almost every single page.
That's a good business lesson for all of us as well. A key element of this was you were leaning into comments, questions. You were using this as an opportunity to answer all those questions that you get on a regular basis.
Totally.
Too often, we're not thinking, well, if the question comes up 2 or 3 times, probably means it's out there a whole lot more in the universe of our customer base. We're just not hearing about it, except for the 2 or 3 times someone asks it.
Sure.
You're taking those questions, you're actually creating the answers and pouring into your customers in a really special way.
Yeah.
You know, Hal, after your injury, you decided that you weren't just going to accept the diagnosis of doctors saying that you'd be in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You were going to do more than that. And you ended up running an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
Most people don't ever imagine doing something like that. Talk to me about what it took for you to run that first step. What was it that you learned in the journey to come that distance and literally turn life around for yourself?
I hate running.
Okay.
I hated it then. And I don't use the word hate very often, so I don't even like that word, but I do not like running. I had started doing the Miracle Morning. Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. I started setting what I call level 10 goals in every area of my life. Well, a friend of mine founded a nonprofit called Front Row Foundation. They do the Atlantic City Marathon every year. It's called Run for the Front Row. He had asked me a few months before the Miracle Morning started if I would run in the race. And I said, I'm not a runner. I'll donate money, but I'm not going to run. Thank you, but no thank you. When I was setting my level 10 goals for physical fitness, I went, what would be a level 10 goal? Running a marathon for me. I've never run more than a mile. And that was only during high school PE class when you were forced to do it. And I hated every minute of it.
Right. Yeah.
Man, who would I have to become to go from thinking I hate running 1 mile and I can barely do it to running 26 miles? I don't even know who that would be. Like, I can't even imagine that. So I started to get excited, not because I wanted to do it, because I didn't want to do it. And I thought, if I committed publicly to raise money for the Front Row Foundation, then I'd be on the hook to do it, because I didn't want to, you don't want to look like a schmuck and go, I'm raising money for charity. Just kidding. I changed my mind. I'm wimping out. I'm going to run a marathon. I bought a book on Amazon called The Non-Runner's Marathon Trainer, I think. If you don't like running and you're not a runner, but you want to run a marathon, it helps you with the psychology of getting from point A to running the marathon. Day one was go walk a mile. It really has you baby step your way into running. And then you jog a mile, baby steps. Once I got to 2 miles, I went, okay, I never thought I could run more than a mile. I ran 2. If I could run 26 miles, why not 52?
Hal, I hope everyone listening can experience the level of energy you bring to everything that you do. It is infectious.
Thank you.
Your enthusiasm is worth catching. That's for sure.
It's either infectious or annoying. I think there's a fine line. Some people are like, okay, buddy, settle down. But no, I appreciate that, Don. I received the compliment.
I want to thank you today. I know how important it is to get a chance to talk about work like yours, to share it into our community. I want to thank you today for being a corporate competitor and for allowing us to learn from you. How best can they stay in touch with you?
MiracleMorning.com is the hub. It's the best place. So we have a full-length documentary that we made over the course of 6 years.
Wow.
About following people's miracle morning journeys and stories. I happen to be diagnosed with cancer halfway through the filming of the documentary. So you actually see that unexpected journey as well. Go to miraclemorning.com. You can watch the documentary for free. There's a Miracle Morning app that actually a lot of companies are bringing in to their workforce and doing 30-day challenges with their entire employees or teams, executive teams. So the Miracle Morning app is free, and then all the books are there. So yeah, miraclemorning.com is the hub for all things Miracle Morning. And Don, thank you so much. And everybody listening, I mean, this is my life's work. When I saw the Miracle Morning start changing people's lives in such a profound way, I realized I have a responsibility to share this with other people. And I've been sharing it for 12 years or so now, and I don't see any end to it. Like, this is my life's work. 3 million people have read the Miracle Morning. And the way that I look at it, that means I have 8 billion people and the rest of my life to figure out how to reach those people. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share this with your listeners. It means a lot.
Something tells me you'll get there. I wouldn't bet against you.
Appreciate it.
Hal Elrod, thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Okay, just listening to Hal, the energy that he brings to just a simple conversation. I sat for an hour with him in the Delta Sky Club in Nashville, and I felt exactly then as I feel right now. Man, he could fire you up. Let me give you my 3 great takeaways. Obviously, the first one, you got to jump into his 5-minute rule, and that idea that Cutco manager gave him. Take 5 minutes. You can complain, whine, do whatever you want for 5 minutes after a situation, and then say the words, can't change it. Once you realize you can't change it, then you start to put in perspective that your mindset is the one thing you can't own. The source of pain for most people is the resisting of the reality. If you start seeing things exactly as they are, brings more peace. What a takeaway. The second one is that he talked about the journey that he went on to learn what successful people do, inspired by the Jim Rohn quote, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. So then Hal decides to go study the most successful people on the planet, asking, what do they do? What is their level 10 in personal development? Comes up with an acronym and builds a morning routine around it that doesn't just change his life, it changes the lives of millions of readers. That's level 10 impact. Finally, when he talked about level 10 work in his exercise, it wasn't just to go out and run a mile. It was to run a marathon. And then it was, if I'm going to run 1, let's run 2. Hal Elrod is a fireball in everything he does. He has taken life's most difficult circumstances multiple times and spun them into a gift for all the rest of us. I can't wait to read the new book. I can't wait to share it with you. You'll find it in the show notes, but go out today and make yourself a greater corporate competitor, because that's what level 10 would ask you to do. If you could share one habit, one thing you've done consistently that allowed you to separate yourself from your competitors, what would it be? In my 30-year career, 2,500 of the greatest athletes, coaches, and leaders answered that question for me.
This is Don Yeager, who did that that article I was telling you about.
Don, Dave Sims with Coach K. How you doing?
Hey, Don. How you doing, my man? Great, sir. How
What they gave to me is what I'm giving to you in my online course, Journey to Greatness. Through engaging storytelling and on-demand videos, you will learn the 16 habits that will jumpstart your personal growth. I will instruct you on how to apply these winning characteristics to your life through custom workbook exercises. We are slashing the price for our podcast listeners. Lifetime access to Journey to Greatness is normally $399. But for our podcast listeners, it will be $49 with the code PODCAST at checkout. Click the banner on corporatecompetitorpodcast.com to enroll. I appreciate you.